Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hangouts. My name is Violet, and I am your host for today. So, we are going to be discussing tech, government outreach, and citizen participation. So, Hangouts is an informative, informal, and interactive session. And depending on where you are, it happens at different times 1:30 p.m. UTC, 3:30 p.m. Central African time, and 4:30 p.m. East African time. It is a 10 to 20-minute presentation followed by a moderated audience discussion. I do invite you to share with me your thoughts, ask questions, and please feel free to interrupt me wherever you feel like it so you can have your voice heard. Do connect with us on our social media platforms and also join the Discord community. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, share the videos, and also engage with us in the comments. Oh, and please do not forget to click that notification bell so that when we push out content, you get it first. And if you are joining me here live or after the fact, this shindig goes down every bi-weekly Tuesday, so please keep that in mind. And we also do have good news. We have a podcast masterclass that we are launching at Leaders of Africa. The links are already up on the website at leadersofafrica.org. So please look up the links and feel free to join us. It's going to be a 6-week experience where we will be sharing how you can tell your stories better. Let's hang out. And so very quickly, I would like to ask you, how many times have you accessed or used your city, state, or government's website in the past 6 months? And why did you use it? And if you did use it, what was your experience? So please share with me. Oh, and again, when you want to share, please click on the participants icon and raise your hand so I can see you. And I would also invite you to turn on your camera so I can see your face, so I can talk to you and see your face at the same time. So very quickly, anybody?
I can go. I've accessed the government's website quite a few times lately for research. I was doing some research on open data, on data privacy, and to see where the government stands in those issues, and also in particular with the coronavirus and the tracing. There's a lot of applications that are coming up in terms of trying to do contact tracing and all of those details. So I was looking into what the local government is doing with regards to that.
Thank you, Gloria. And may I ask which government's website that was that you accessed?
I accessed the U.S. government website, but I also accessed Iceland, because Iceland and Singapore, of course, is a country I've never visited, but I was just curious. There are some of the countries that are doing well in this contact tracing,
absolutely, that's
technology-based area. So yeah, I went to the website.
Thank you, Gloria. Eva, I see your hand up. Which website did you access?
Yeah, so I have accessed the Ghana government website. Actually, just yesterday, to get update on the election. Ghana had its election yesterday, but there was nothing there. So I was kind of disappointed. There was nothing there. There was no real-time information as to how to assess what is going on, even from the Electoral Commission website. So it was really hard. In terms at a local level, in terms of the city, there's not much information on the city website. And actually, one of the situations that I think the local government faces is they don't really have like a website. And even if they have them, sometimes the information they are not really updated. So, I mean, you have to be going back and forth to get any information from the local assembly. If you need an information from them and you check on their website, there's not much there. You have to know someone working in the office. You have to have direct contact with them before they. It's been really hard. And actually, I think last month to the same thing, I checked the Nigerian government website to get some information. It was the same issue. There was not much information there. And actually, they had a request form there. If you want any data, you have to request for it and state the reasons why. So Some of these websites, they are there, but in terms of navigating it to find the right information you want, it's like a lot of bureaucracy that you have to jump.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And Gloria and Eva, thank you for that. Eva, actually, I will get back to that in a bit as we go ahead in the presentation. And I am glad that you said some of the things that you said. So just a little snapshot on mobile phone ownership in sub-Saharan Africa. However, this is 3 years back. So since we are discussing tech and government outreach and citizen participation, so basically we are talking about, websites, mobile phones, and social media. So the Pew Research Center put out these statistics, but this was in 2017. And as we can see, South Africa did have the highest number of smartphone owners, while Tanzania had the highest number of basic phone owners. However, you find that very few people did not have any phones at all. And so this shows that the continent is moving towards more access to technology. And we do know that most people do access the internet through mobile phones more than they do through their computers. But then in 2020, we do know that as of March, before the world went haywire, Africa did have 527 million internet users, and they just had, we do have about 250 million smartphone users at the moment, compared to what we were seeing in 2017. And it's projected that by 2025, just shy of 5 years from now, we will have about 470 million smartphone users. So that is that presents a lot of promise on how governments are going to be interacting with their citizens and how citizens are going to be engaging with their governments when it comes to technology. So traditionally, whenever we think about citizen engagement, we do think about things like town halls, meetings, and basically physical interactions. However, with the proliferation of technology, and building internet infrastructure in different countries, things are moving more online, just as the whole world is really going online, because tech is really the future. So civic engagement is also moving online. And civic engagement is really just a knowledge of, discussion of, and involvement in public affairs, because just the knowledge of public affairs is not enough. You need to engage. And because of the advances in technology, we have new avenues for how citizens can engage with their governments and how governments can engage with their citizens, unlike in the olden days where we had to wait for opportunities for physical engagement. And as the pandemic has taught us, the world can literally be run online without the need for physical meeting up. And so this kind of technology has enabled communication between citizens, and also between citizens and the governments. And it has encouraged people to basically participate around issues of policy and community issues, because now for someone who is in Accra, they don't have to be maybe internally to debate issues, but they can go online and have a real-time discussion because of these technologies. And just like Eva mentioned, you went to check the website to see what was going on with the election in Ghana. So those are some of the ways that this has advanced civic engagement. So why are we really wanting to access government websites? So users typically do access government websites for two categories of reasons: services and information. And when we talk about governments, I would like to make it clear that we are talking about governments at different levels. So it could be a municipality government, a local government, or the federal government, depending on how your country is structured. So one category of users typically tends to access these websites for services. It could be things like paying utility bills, taxes, checking for bus schedules, looking to buy property, and things like that. And the other category of users typically goes there to seek information. It could be on policy issues, like Eva was checking for the election results. Someone else could be checking to see what's going on with the city council, if they're what's going on with them. So that is really why people access these websites. And then, of course, the rationale for online citizen participation, or for actually even having these platforms in the first place, is because two reasons. One, that is the shift to a more customer-centric government. So we know that in the private sector, when we have profit-making ventures, entities are typically more interested in creating customer-centric products and services. What do our clients need? How do we tweak our services to make our clients happier so that we have repeat customers? But typically with government, this has not always been the case. So most of the time, citizens go to the government because we need the government to do things for us, but rarely have we had governments coming to us. But because of these technologies, we now have governments starting to think more like for-profit entities with customer-centric governance methods, whereby the citizen is the customer. And then deliberative democracy. So this is where we have citizens more actively engaged in holding the government accountable, in holding the government to more transparent standards, and basically making collective choices about what's good for them. So it could be budgets, it could be on education, because you're able to collect a wide array of feedback from a very big number of people at the same time. So one quick question again, my viewers, what do you think makes a government website effective? I know Eva mentioned something earlier about checking the Ghana's website and not finding information and it being a bit sketchy. But what do you think makes for a good government website? Please feel free to raise your hand so you can say your mind and I can see you. Anybody have any ideas?
I can go again. I know earlier I spoke of very, governments in countries that have done progress in this area, but in most African countries, the thing that I would say what makes a government website anywhere, in fact, in the world effective is latest information. I did some research a couple of months ago on the South African website, looking at different departments in South Africa, looking for information related to mining and policies on natural resources, because mining is big in South Africa. But they did quite a good job at the national level. They tried to do their best, but I would say information that is accurate, information that is latest. Most of the time, the issue with most of our governments is like you find information that are 10 years old on our website. That's that's the latest that you find. I would say the speed in updating information as things changes, that will make a website effective and relevant. And the other thing is the ease of navigation. Sometimes you get to this website, there's just so much going on. I think the user interface needs to be created in a way that it's easier for a person who have very little skills to still be able to navigate that website.
I completely agree. Thank you so much, Gloria. Everything that you have said is really pertinent to having an effective government website. So here's the things that make up the components of an effective government website. So basically they are split up into 5 categories. So we have privacy and security. We do have usability, content, services, and then the ability for citizen participation and engagement. So for privacy and security, this basically relates to the website's privacy policies and authentication services. I don't know how many of you have ever gone to a website and before you use the website have considered reading what their privacy policy says, because the privacy policy allows you to know what they are doing, what information of yours they are collecting, whether they're attaching cookies and following you all over the internet after you leave your website and basically stalking you, what they are doing with this information. And if they are sharing it with third parties, you need to know, because we do so many things on the internet. So one of the things that increases citizens' trust in their governments is privacy and security. And most of the African government websites, both on the local and national levels, do not have privacy policy statements. So it becomes uncharted territory for a user. And then the usability is basically the user-friendliness of the website's design. Like Gloria said, navigation issues. How long does it take for you to get to have to jump through? Are the links clickable? Do they lead you to actual information, or do they lead to dead ends? And the branding and formatting and consistency and the aesthetics of everything being pulled together, as we shall see a bit ahead as I discuss some of the examples that I pulled up. And then the content. No matter how fancy a website is, if the content is outdated, like Gloria says, sometimes the latest you have is like a decade ago, and sufficiently detailed to provide essential assistance to the user, then there is no point having the website. So that also is very important. And then the services. When we put up websites, what services are they offering? Can users pay their utilities online? Can they pay bills? Can they look up property? Can they look up ordinances and charters? All this is important in terms of what services a website is offering to its users. And then for citizen participation and engagement, that comes in two ways. So when you have the first four options properly addressed, then you have the potential for more citizen engagement and participation, because all these things typically lead to repeat users, unlike when they come there and they are completely disappointed by what they find. They typically wouldn't come back. And then the other aspect of citizen engagement is where the websites are interactive. So most of the time you'll find that these websites, especially on the continent, just have information. There's no way to contact government officials. There's no way to leave a comment or a question. It's just one way. It's not iterative. So that in a way to affect citizen participation. So here are some of the examples that I pulled up. And this is the Lagos state government website. And just in the spirit of what we just discussed about privacy statements, usability, content, services, and engagement. So when you go to the Lagos state government website, this is what you see. And I made sure that I pulled this up just today, so that it was very current. So when you go there, this is what you see. And most of these links are not clickable. So where it says government, that's clickable. But when you open the links, most of the links lead up to dead ends. Some of them do have information, but it's not comprehensive. The search bar is not exactly that. It's not exactly that. I don't want to say useful, but it doesn't give you everything that you need. And then when you get here, you basically are staring at almost a blank screen, and then you have to scroll down about 3-4 pages below before you can get to maybe how to contact to contact the officials behind the screen, or maybe get to other links like their social media. It is not conspicuously placed on the website, as you can see. But well, let's compare that to the city of Kigali in just a bit. So when you go to the city of Kigali, it looks like this. So again, you do have, at least for most of the links, you can clearly see that they are clickable. They do have drop-down menus. You can access so many other things like jobs and tenders, programs, and things like that. But again, you do have to sort of like maneuver around to get to what you want. You don't really have everything placed right in front of you. So that to one extent limits usability. Because again, how do you navigate? There's no sitemap, and you basically have to go through quite a bit of hurdles to get through to what you want. And if I may also mention, they do not have privacy statements. So when you engage with these websites, you really don't know what they're collecting, who they are sharing it with, and so many aspects like that. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, so the question I had, going back to the Lagos state government website, at the very top, if you don't mind putting that up for us, at the very top you see, I think, who would be the governor of Lagos state, I would assume, there in the corner at the very top. Is it concerning to you, or maybe just in general terms, what are your general thoughts about sort of the emphasis on political themes or sort of politicians in the context of websites that are used for perhaps official business of and such? Are there principles of acceptability when it comes to how certain individuals are characterized? And is there a fine line between a campaign site and sort of a government site? I'm curious your thoughts on that question.
Thank you so much, Peter. That's a very, very interesting question. And indeed, there is a fine line between a campaign website and an official government website. Well, I clearly can understand that because he is the governor, he is at the helm, and so he needs to be somewhere on the website as, the top official that, runs the government or is at the helm of things. However, for a website that is typically geared towards providing services, and basically, if we go back to what we said about user-centric focus, I do not think that should be the main focus of the website, because when you look at the website, we are staring at the governor's face, but we are saying, where are the services that you are offering? Where is the usability of the website? And I think that because, for all the visitors that will visit this website in particular, people do have different political dispensations. So for someone who may not exactly think very highly of the job that the governor is doing, I don't think that when they come to the website, this is the first thing they should see. They need to be able to see what the government is offering, what services they can be able to access, whether they do have the latest news, whether they have bulletin boards, whether they can pay their bills and things like that. So I do think that perhaps a rearrangement of this website would be appropriate and put the governor's face in a less conspicuous place, and instead highlight the services and what value the website offers its users, than advertise who the political head of the government is. Yes, so that is what I think. Eva, I do see your hand up.
Yes. Yeah, so I was actually wondering the same thing, why the governor should have his face there. Because you already spoke about it, that the fact that is that it should be about the community, it should be about the services that the state is providing. But right. Our politicians want to put their face there to prove a point, like they are the owners of the website, so they can, right. Do what they want to do. Because when I go on a government website, the first thing I'm looking at is like an information saying that, for instance, welcome to the city of this or this government department or service websites and something like that. I don't intend to see, the faces of, the MP or the president or whoever is leading. Right. They should have like a separate page for him where he has his face and post the welcome information and things like that. But right. As you stated about this website, that it's so hard for you to click some of the menu. Some of the menus are not working, or they are there and it's like in maintenance mode. I've encountered this a lot on a lot of websites in Ghana. And actually, I think 2 years ago, I was looking for an information from the Tanzania government website about ports, like what the port and travel authorities, information on the kind of goods that come into the country. And as you said, it was so hard. The information was, for them, it was dated to like 5 years back. And also I could get information on like recent information, but it's not most accurate, like recent information, but it wasn't like up to date, like it wasn't all that you wanted. So there is a section that asks you to send an email.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent an email up to now that I'm sitting here. It's been like 2 years. I've not received the email. So it tells you that the website may be there, it may look nice, but in terms of getting the information you want, it's really hard. And I am glad that you're talking about it. And another thing I want to make mention is the fact that even at a government level, the websites, you have issues accessing information on government website. In Ghana. And it's the same thing when you also go to some of the universities' websites on the continent. There have been times that I need even information, common information about programs, who is the department chair of a certain university. And it was so hard, I couldn't find anything. Like the information was not there, actually, the kind of research they are doing. So, just to like, yes, we need websites. Most universities and even most government and city government have websites, but in terms of the information they are providing, they are not up to date. And most of the time, as I said, you have to go past through a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump before you get information you want. And it's, for me, it's very hard. So actually, when I need an information, most of the time I have to look for someone who knows someone who knows someone. Before I go there, first of I have to think about who I know even before actually going on the website. So that is like how frustrated that I get when I'm going to visit the website of like a local government back home.
Wow.
At home.
Thank you so much, Eva, for those submissions. And you have spoken so many truths that really need to be said. And I mean, we just mentioned at the beginning of the show that the coronavirus has shown us that we can literally run things online. But then the thing is, how effectively are we harnessing these technologies? So we do have these websites that our governments have put up, but why are they up there? What is the point? And how effectively are they doing what they purport to be doing? Because, for example, when you look at the Lagos State government website, it says justice and progress. So in my head, I would be thinking, okay, progress, but where's the progress on the website? And like Peter rightly mentioned, why is there a very conspicuous picture of the governor and not the services that are being offered? Because all pun intended, one would ask, is he part of the services that are being offered on the website? And so I would think that a more appropriate place to put it would be, in the contacts portion of the page. And there would probably be something to, connect to the governor or something of that nature. Well, we'll be discussing social media in a while, but I must mention that when I went to the social media, the Twitter page and the social media, again, we could see the governor very conspicuously on the cover pages. And I was like, okay, but where are the services again? So I think that our governments, both at municipality, state, local, federal, need to take a very hard look at themselves and see how exactly they are creating value for their citizens. Because granted, a lot of resources go into building the internet infrastructure and all the ICT capabilities that are required to host these websites, but we do need to use them. And if we are moving towards a more customer-centric form of governance, where the citizen is the customer, then this is not the way to go. We need to do better. And so, moving on to the Kigali website, as we were talking about, one of the things that was on this website was that, again, like I said, it didn't have a privacy policy. You needed to navigate around. The usability was a little bit restricted. You couldn't use it for so many services like paying your utility bills and so many other things that you might need when you think about going on a website. And at the same time, they did have a frequently asked questions page, but when you went there, there was nothing. It was blank. And I was like, okay, are we saying that there are no frequently asked questions or what's going on? So it did leave a lot to be desired. And then here's the Johannesburg city government's website. And I would like to point out that this is what it is supposed to look like, or at least the closest to what it is supposed to look like. So when you look at the Johannesburg city government's webpage, you basically have everything you are looking for at the home page, like one page. You don't have to scroll through miles of web pages to get to what you're looking for. So it tells you who they are. And we do have a bulletin board. And this bulletin board keeps moving every few seconds to give you snapshots of information that's going on, activities that they are involved in. And it offers you the option to read more, so that if you are interested in one bit of information, you can read more about it. Or if you're not, you have the ability to click back and forth to what interests you, and it's updated every day, every few hours. We do have infographics here that are clickable, that actually do lead you to actual information and services. So among the e-services, you can apply for permits, you can pay your utilities, you can pay your tax. It's just a click away. And one thing I would like to also state is that for the Lagos government's website, they did have some forms that were posted on there, but they were PDFs. So that means that if you wanted to say apply for something, you needed to download it, and then you needed to print it, and then you needed to fill it by hand. And if you made a mistake, you needed to print another one and then scan it and then send it back. I mean, that's a lot of work. But for the Johannesburg city government's website, those forms were interactive in such a way that you clicked on it and you could actually fill it out and then just click submit. So think about the ease with which someone does something, and then think about the chances that they'll come back to access this service in the future. So we did have this infographic for vacancies where you could come and, apply for jobs and see what was out there in the offerings. There were notices where you could come and see, notices on meetings, notices on what was coming up, notices on taxes, and things that basically the government wanted, its residents to keep abreast of. You could procure online. There was information on land use and getting land permits, and so many other things. And then they do have a search bar up here, and the search bar actually does work. They do have key documents on their website, and it is in a glossary that is alphabetized. So you don't have to read through everything to get to what you want. You just have to know whatever I want is in the P category, and you just scroll through and go to the P category and you are there. So basically everything just, the usability is way, way up there. Someone navigates very well. And you can also see that it has a clean and cohesive aesthetic look to it. So the colors are cohesive, they are friendly to the eye, everything is just clean and very, very aesthetically pleasing. And then one of the most beautiful things about this website is that when you look to the right in the middle here, you do see the links to all their social media. And this is really, really important. So you can link to their Facebook, you can link to their Twitter, to their Instagram, to their YouTube, and all the other social media platforms that they are on. And this is very important because usually when people want instant updates, they go on social media. So it's very easy for you to get on the website and then navigate to their social media and then follow whichever platform you feel more comfortable with, so that you can constantly get updates. And I must mention that when I went to their social media, everything was updated constantly. So they were up to date and everything was just very well presented. And then something I wanted to show again was, so when I captured the photo, so this down here was also part of the website, the general queries, staying connected, and other services, help and support. That too is all on the page. So basically you don't need to go anywhere. everything is right there. You just need to see what you want and then click and follow. And all these links are live links. They don't lead to dead ends and then just hang. And they did have a privacy policy where you could click and actually read what their privacy policy is, how they're collecting your information, who they're sharing your information with, and if they are stalking you all over the internet. And this is very, very important. Like I said, we do so many things online, and we need to know how we are navigating our privacy in these uncharted territories. So, as you have seen, the differences between these three websites: the Lagos state government's website, the city of Kigali, and then the city of Johannesburg. And these are all in sub-Saharan Africa. So we did do a study, and we were assessing the websites of 5 cities on the African continent. And again, some of the cities that I have shown, the city websites that I have shown, are part of the websites that we assessed in the study. It's not yet published, so it's still ongoing. But we did look at these cities based on population size and the total number of internet users. And that's basically one of the metrics that are used in the e-government spaces when we do want to assess the efficacy of websites, because we believe that the population and the number of internet users is closely linked with what to e-government and technology for governance. So we did look at Kigali, we did look at Lagos, we did look at Accra, Dar es Salaam, and Johannesburg. And like we have seen with the examples that I have pulled up, Johannesburg is definitely almost an outlier because it does have literally almost everything that makes up a website. Yes, Peter, I do see your hand up.
Yeah, so the question I had was about the difference between viewing the website and accessing the website on a desktop versus a mobile phone. As you mentioned at the very beginning of your presentation, or alluded to, and I think this would probably be accurate, a lot of people are accessing these websites through mobile phones. So when you think about the study that you're doing, as well as, you know, those website designs that you were talking about and how easy it is to get at material, and the speed issue, I would argue that's probably even more important when people are viewing it on a mobile phone. So I'm curious to know whether, you know, some of the study that you're going to describe here, or you've begun to describe, as well as our reactions to the desktop version, also apply to the mobile version, and how do you sort of understand the similarities or differences between optimization on a desktop version versus a mobile version?
Thank you so much, Peter. I definitely agree that an optimized version for mobile technology is much more useful, because most users on the continent do access the internet using their mobile pages. And while the study is still ongoing, when we did look at these websites using mobile phones, again, the Johannesburg city government's website did show up much more beautifully on a mobile phone. And I mean, a mobile user could easily navigate, because again, everything was all on the same page, and you know, it had these clean lines to it, and everything was right there with the use of infographics. But when it came to other websites like the Lagos state government website, it was wacky when it was on a mobile phone, because if you had to scroll through 4 pages on your desktop, now imagine how much you needed to scroll through on your mobile phone. It was just on and on and on, and you're not seeing anything, or there were these dead links and you couldn't see what you were looking for. It was headache. And again, when it comes to the interactivity of being able to, say, fill out forms, again, with the Johannesburg website, you could easily click on the form and then it opens, and then you actually use your mobile phone to type in. But then with the other ones where it was just a PDF, if you downloaded it to your phone, you couldn't fill it out, and you would need to transfer it to a computer to print it, to fill it out, to scan it, to put it back. Yes, It is a nightmare. And I must also mention that even for the forms that you would have to scan and fill out, you couldn't re-upload them to the website to send them back. You needed to send them physically. And so it left one wondering, so what was the whole point of having the website in the first place? But it is very, very important that even above and beyond just optimizing website designs for our laptops and our desktop computers, it is more imperative that we do optimize them for our mobile handsets, because that is how the majority of the population accesses the internet on the continent. So thank you, Peter. So yeah, for this study that we were doing, we did use the e-government survey instrument, and the EGI is literally the most comprehensive index in practice for e-government research. It does have 86 measures and 5 distinct categories of research, and those were the ones that I was talking about earlier that included privacy and security, the usability, content, services, and then citizen and social engagement. So this just basically describes what's on the EGI, where 31 out of the 36 measures are dichotomous. And but for our particular research that we are doing, we did apply 14 to 23 of the measures to each category, but we did weight them out such that they literally weight the same values across categories. And this is what we came up with preliminarily. So basically, when you look at the category and the different cities that we looked at, again, Eva, I must mention, like you said rightly about the Accra website, we did have similar problems like you faced when you accessed it. And as you can see, Johannesburg did score the highest overall. The rest of the cities, well, we did have a tie between Dar es Salaam and Accra. And for the websites that did have privacy statements, we did have only Johannesburg and Dar es Salaam. The rest did not have any privacy statements. In terms of, however, one thing that is very striking was that even as much as Johannesburg did score like the highest on all categories when it came to all the 5, it's interesting to note that across the board, all the cities did score the lowest in terms of citizen participation, even though Johannesburg still had the highest score when it came to citizen and social engagement. Overall, sorry, it didn't have the highest, it had the second highest after Lagos, but overall there's very little engagement. And probably this speaks a lot to how the websites are built and how interactive they are and how frustrating it is for users to go on there and access the services that they need to access, and whether they will repeatedly come back or not. And perhaps if these cities would do a much better job at redesigning their web pages, perhaps it would help. And although for Johannesburg, it poses a very interesting question as to why, even after all, after scoring well on all those points, it does have low citizen engagement. And I think that is an area for further inquiry. And so a few other insights from the literature is that there's differential website use, and women are more likely to engage online than offline. And we still don't know whether it has to do with the social cultural dispensation of the continent, where women are more reserved traditionally, but when they're online, because they can engage from the safety of their homes and maybe under pseudonyms, then they actually do engage more. And then we also see that rural residents are less likely to participate, which is not a surprise at all because of the technological difficulties when it comes to internet penetration in the rural areas. And then, of course, policy researchers and scholars are more likely to engage because they are more interested than the average person in policy issues, although other people would be interested in services because everybody at some point has to pay their taxes, has to pay their utilities. And then, of course, we do find that the propensity for online interaction does affect actual physical interaction, and there's a positive correlation between the two. And so let's take a look at social media because, again, when it comes to citizen engagement and technology and government outreach, it goes hand in hand. Social media goes hand in hand with website platforms. And so social media is basically a variety of online web-based applications that facilitate social interaction and the direct transmission of information between networked actors. And so when we talk about social media, we are thinking about Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and other like platforms. And social media has basically transformed the way that citizens engage with their governments, even more than websites, because it's real time. You can respond anytime you want, and you can counter misinformation and things like that. And for some reason, because again, people can hide behind different avatars, they are more bold on social media than they are in real life. So it has changed the dynamics of interaction very, very, very much. And then just a quick look at the benefits and the drawbacks of social media. As you mentioned, the advantages, it's in real time and people can access their updates. But like I said, when you looked at the Johannesburg website, you could easily navigate to their social media. And if you followed them, then every time they put up an update, you could easily access it. And then there's widespread accessibilities. Again, Eva, I'll use your example. From wherever you were at this point, you were able to access social media to see what's going on with the election in Ghana. So that shows how, unlimited it is. You don't have to be in one place. And then one of the beauties about it is its capability for multi-directional communication, because again, in the past, we've seen governments mostly tending to engage in unidirectional communication, whereby they're just telling you what's going on. But this time it's iterative, and people are able to keep going back and forth with government officials. And when it comes to, of course, the disadvantages, we do have the propensity for inaccurate data, because on social media, again, everybody is a potential broadcaster. So someone can start something and it goes viral, and rates at which our governments are harnessing social media and all these technological capabilities, they may not be able to get ahead of it as fast as they need to. So there's that disadvantage. And then, of course, the misinformation that goes on and the inaccuracies of the data that we may not be able to very readily verify. And so, Gloria, you mentioned at some point that you did look at the Seoul, I hope that's the way to pronounce it, but that's the capital city of South Korea, their website. And as you rightly mentioned, right now they are the best when it comes to using technology for governance. And this is one of their processes when it comes to government outreach and citizen engagement, both on social media and on their website. And I think this is something that African governments need to aspire towards and implement. So it's called the Civil Complaint and Proposal Integrated System, also called, I don't know how to pronounce that in their language, so I don't know. And it's basically to more rapidly respond to citizen complaints, comments, and feedback. And it integrates and manages more than 30 communication channels, including complaint sites, e-application centers, proposal sites, and others. And I think that is a very, very huge capacity. So you have the citizen on one side, whether they are using Twitter or they are using their mobile phone or they're using, the desktop-based computers, sending out complaints or proposals. And we have on the other side, integrated receivers, department managers, and processing staff. However, when a citizen sends out a simple complaint or just a proposal that is simple, again, they do receive immediate responses. Like Eva said, she's waited 2 years for a response to her email and it has never come. Here they emphasize immediate responses, not just responses, but immediate. And so you can have your complaint or your proposal immediately responded to, if it is simple, by the integrated receivers. And then if it is quite complex, then it gets pushed up the hierarchy to the department manager, and it gets pushed up to the complex complaint processing staff. However, while they are working on what you want or what you're complaining about, there's a feedback loop where they're able to reach you either through mobile phone messaging or email or notifications about how far they have gone with your request or your complaint. And so you keep getting notifications until your problem is resolved. And that is the essence of customer-centric governance. And I think that our governments would do well to move towards a model that works like this. And so far, these guys are doing it the best. And as practitioners, we tend to look at them for best practices at the moment. And I think that this is something that we would do well to learn from. And it's something that would really benefit our websites as well. So why are African governments still lagging behind? So basically, two major reasons did pop up, and one of them was risk aversion. And if we are familiar with the way that governments are structured, many times their structures are in such a way that they are bureaucracies. As Eva again rightly said, you have to jump through so many hoops. So it's very hard to turn this machine around to get to develop new ideas and ways of doing things. So they are averse to risk, and technology comes as a new frontier, and governments are still our governments are still quite reserved when it comes to dipping their toes in the water, unlike other governments elsewhere. And then, of course, the underutilization of technology capabilities. We do have the technology, we do have the resources, both financial and technical, to be able to navigate this, but still we underutilize it. And some of the ways that we do underutilize it is in the way that we communicate. We are still more focused on unidirectional communication, where we'll just post something online and hope you'll come and read it, instead of having it multidirectional. So we know what our customers, who are the citizens using these platforms, need. And so with that, I would like to invite you to join me in the conversation and ask how you think that our governments would do well to become more tech savvy and multi-directional in their outreach and engagement. I know that Gloria mentioned some few points, but let me know what your thoughts are on any of these, how our governments can become more tech savvy, and feel free to answer any of the questions. You don't really have to go in chronological order, and also think about how legitimate our government's invitations are to citizens to engage and participate, because we know sometimes when citizens have tried to participate and engage, they have been cited or imprisoned, or have been, things haven't really gone that well for some countries. So how can citizens be sure that the invitations to participate are legitimate? And what have been your experiences when engaging with your government, especially in giving negative feedback? Have you had blowback for it, or have things gone smoothly? I would like to hear from you. Please hit the participation button, and you'll see how to raise your hand. Feel free to turn on your cameras so I can see you as we engage. Thoughts? Yes, Peter.
So I think one thing that has come out of this conversation thus far is the importance of data and databases. Because as you mentioned, the PDFs that you can't fill online, and Eva talking about getting information on websites, this all traces back not to the front end of the website, sort of what you see, the user interface, but to the back end and the types of data that are there. And so I think becoming more tech savvy is about working on databases, working on information. And I think this is an important broader point, because if we think about the area that I do work in elections, the issues are oftentimes about the voter's roll, about essentially a database, and it keeping and that database being transparent and updated over time. So I think one of the first inroads should be in sort of data management and sort of information management. And I know some countries are doing better about that and may not share that with everyone publicly. But I think once you get the data there, you have to share things publicly. And I think the other thing that would make them perhaps move in this direction, would give them confidence to share things publicly and to manage database, is also the security aspect that we don't talk about in this conversation thus far too much, right? And putting databases and access to them in some sort of form, then you may open yourself up to vulnerability. They already may be vulnerable at this period of time, but there may be this concern about the vulnerability of the data. So I think improving databases, improving security around those databases are the two first things that are there. Getting a good web designer to help you design things, that is really possible. There are really great designers across the continent that can do that work, but it's the back end, in my view, that needs to change.
Absolutely, Peter. Thank you so much for your contribution. And as you rightly mentioned, that perhaps there could also be a fear for much more transparency, because again, part of like the end game for this customer-centric type governance thing is that there needs to be greater transparency, and in that way, citizens can hold their government's feet to the fire and ask questions, because it's typically harder to ask questions over what you know nothing about. But again, in like manner, it's very important that security is enhanced, because then there will be no way to ensure the integrity and safety of this data when it's put up there. Those are very, very, very important points. Yes, Gloria, I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, so I wanted to add to what Peter said. I personally think there are a couple of things to look at here. One is just hiring the right people. I mean, today, designing a website, let's look at front end, for instance. Designing a website today, it's not as difficult as it used to be back then. Our government just needs to put the resources where these resources needs to be. It's very easy. There's so many templates, there's all kinds of technology that just make it easier to just at least design that front end. And another thing I personally think, looking, for instance, in the DRC and in other African countries, usually people in higher government positions are the same people, the old men who are there for 20 years. It's the same relation, like a boys club, basically. So this is a generation, things have evolved when it comes to technology. They might be, have the experience to influence politics in a certain area, but when it comes to technology information, we are very far, and they need to tap into this younger generation when it comes to the technology needs of our country. We need to the younger generation, because as far as web design, social media, young people can easily do it, Just like Peter said, hire a web designer. It's as easy as that. And then there's the issue of data management, very important to just improve our processes when it comes to collecting information, analyzing that information, and giving people access to that information, because we can have the design, but if the information is not, there's no order in our information, we don't have information, we don't collect information, that is going to be a problem. And investing in the databases, in that process of just, staying on top of what's going on in our country and managing that information well. I would say that is the second thing. And the third thing is privacy. Privacy, people are very concerned about the privacy and what the government is doing with that information. I mentioned that I was doing some research in contact tracing, because a lot of countries during this pandemic were hoping to rely on technology, because there's only so much that human contact tracers could do, and there are very few people who are willing to go out there during this, with the disease going around. And privacy has been an issue, as one of the reasons why even developed countries have not been able to really achieve what they thought they could with technology, with tech-based contact tracing. I'll take the example of some of the Asian countries. You mentioned Seoul. I also looked at Singapore. I looked at some European country, Iceland, for instance. There isn't a single country on this earth that have managed to achieve great success with technology-based contact tracing, and that is because of the security concerns. And I think if our governments can move into that direction, transparency, that would be great.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And what keeps coming, the themes that keep recurring, data management, they need to invest in it. They need to pass the baton on to the younger generation, because again, the literature clearly shows that there's a positive correlation between age and being tech savvy and being open to more advanced technological ways of doing things. And Africa's median age is about 16 years. So, I mean, we need to take advantage of the age of the continent as well. Yes, Eva.
Yeah. So I just want to say something briefly about the security issues that you guys have mentioned, especially Violet, Peter and Gloria have said. Yeah, and I believe that it's all come down to security, because I feel like the information is there, but the security is not there. Like, they don't have ways to protect the information that are on the website, because, as Peter said, the capacity may not be there. And I remember that in Ghana in 2015, in 2015, I mean, if you Google it right now, 2015, government websites in Ghana were hacked, including 2 banks, like private banks' websites were hacked. And it took them some time to be able to restore it. Why? Cybersecurity threat is on high, especially most developing countries are vulnerable to it, because, as Peter said, the security is not there, the capacity is not there. So there's a need for them to train people. You see, that is where investment have to go in. Right now, in places like China, even in the US, there's a lot of investment going to training people to do cybersecurity thing. Because right now, it's not about having the big war machine, it's about having access to data. So data has become one of the most valuable things in our current ages now. So if you're a country and you don't invest in it, you will be at risk of being vulnerable to hacking from hackers, because hackers are looking for ways to make money. So when they hack your website, they tell you to pay this amount of money before they will release the information. So I believe that is a place that our leaders are not focusing on, and that is a place that they have failed. So it's important for them to start investing in their cybersecurity issues, because one, and also the funny thing is that it's not like we don't have the resources, the human capacity to do this. As Peter said, there are a lot of people that can do this. I mean, you go to like Nigeria, in Nigeria, Ghana, and other African countries, I don't want to just point to one country, but you have young people that are doing this internet scam. And if you see the sophisticated, actually get access to people, get access to bank information, get access to people's credit card. These are the people that you have to make use of. Because these people, some of them don't even have like university education, like they have secondary, some do have university education, but look, they've sat down to understand the back end of internet, and they've understand how to hack people without traces and to make millions of money out of it. So most of the time, governments target these people, arrest them, and put them in jail, right? So instead of doing that, I feel like it's time for them to focus their energy on recruiting some of these guys. And probably it's most of the time it's unemployment that is making them go into that avenue. So recruit them, take them out of it, train them with the right resources to be the ones to protect your internet, to be the ones to, protect the services for you, because these people are actually hacking people's hacking websites in Europe, in other places, getting access to credit cards, and most of the time they dupe people to the tunes of billions of dollars before even the government of those countries become aware that something like this is going on. So I feel like the human resources is there. We have the people, we have the talent, but it's up to the government to plug these people, invest in them the right way to protect the internet and their data capacity for them. Because right now it's all about data. If you don't invest in it, as we are saying that you go to the website is there, designing a website is easy, but the information there is not there. So it's up to time they invest in that. And one question that I came to mind is, Violet, is how effective are governments and local city authorities using social media to promote information? Because sometimes they post one information, something small about something that has taken place, and when you go to the website, there's not much there. So you may think that, okay, social media has allowed them to be able to speak to a broader audience, to be able to speak to people that may not visit the website. But at the same time, you can't just focus on social media, leaving the website, because one, social media should have like a caption of the government has inaugurated, has done this. Then it gives me the link to go on the website. But if the information is on the social media, like that small abstract is there, and I go to the website and I don't find the full details of the information, then I don't think the essence of social. And I mean, what I would say is that then what is the point of putting that information on social media when you can even get much details about it on the women's website? And is that something that you've come across? And in your experience, what do you think? Do you think that governments are taking advantage of social media?
Thank you, Eva, so much for both your questions and your insights. Unfortunately not. They are still lagging behind, and just as they are not effectively harnessing websites, they are not effectively harnessing social media. So with that, I would like to end our Hangouts. We could keep talking all day because this is something that is really pertinent right now, and it's a discussion that we all need to be having. But we can continue the discussion on Discord, and we can continue the discussion on our community. So please feel free to join us. And again, before I get off, I'd just like to thank you all for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today and hanging out with you. And I'd also like to remind you that we are launching our podcast masterclass. It's going to be a 6-week series where you can come and learn how to effectively tell your stories and be a more effective communicator. And so with that, again, thank you so much. I've been Violet, your host. This week happens on Saturday, so please remember to tune into This Week. It goes down every bi-weekly Saturday, and it's this week. So again, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, do like, share, and comment, and also click the notifications bell so you can receive content every time we push it out. You'll get the notification. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. The holidays are coming up. Please take care of yourselves and take care of your loved ones. Until next time.